It's time for another Out of Bounds Rewind with Bo Bounds on ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
What do you think the Cowboys will do maybe mid to late spring with Dak if everything goes to schedule and he's throwing and running around and so on?
Yeah, first off, my condolences. I'm sad for you guys. I'm sad for everybody that, Dak he's fun to watch. He's great to watch play. And I think part of what's going to happen is going to stem from the reaction that everybody had, just how upset people across the league were, the respect that Dak has been given, the respect of his teammates. A lot of that stuff matters. And I think ultimately, I think Dallas is going to try to lock him up long term, and they're going to come to an agreement. I don't know if Dak will have to have some kind of concession on his end financially, if instead of breaking records from or getting up in Mahomes territory or anything, if he's got to make some concessions there. But I think ultimately Dallas wants him there. They're going to find out. They're going to come through and say, look, we want you to be our guy going forward. I think the tricky part is because they do have a nice system and Andy Dalton's a solid player, I think Dalton might produce a little bit. And I just don't know if Dallas is going to turn that around and say, hey, look, Andy Dalton did some nice stuff, as well, and kind of use that as leverage against them. We'll see. That still has to happen. But I think ultimately they want Dak to be their guy going forward. So
if he does come back healthy, it sounds like you have a lot of confidence that something will get done. If it doesn't, it looks to me like, there will be several openings around the league, Steve. The Saints, we're not sure what the Falcons want to do. We're not really sure what the Broncos want to do, what the 49ers want to do with Garoppolo. Who knows if the Patriots will move off Cam. You don't want him at the Jets, but kind of just walk our listeners through maybe 1 or 2, 3 max scenarios that could also play out, Steve?
Yeah, I think all that you mentioned were interesting. I think the Bears are very much in play. The Jaguars are in play because they might be in a Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields mix. But it's a fascinating time around the NFL because I always talk about this, right? 6-7 years ago, I think we always used the Andy Dalton rule, ironically, where if you had a quarterback worse than Andy Dalton, you were looking for the next guy. But if you had a guy better than Andy Dalton, you felt like you could win with him. And he was kind of that middle-tier quarterback. I do feel like right now in the NFL, there are a lot more Andy Dalton caliber players around the league. You might, in the right system, Sam Darnold could probably succeed, and Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, guys that aren't even starters, or guys like Darnold that are young. So there are a lot of quarterbacks around the league. Now, that said, there's also the Bradys and Breezes and Phillip Rivers of the Colts would be in play as well because Rivers is on a one-year deal. Yeah, so I think that's part of – here's how Dallas has to look at this, right? It's like the first thing I said, that there are a lot of at least solid quarterbacks around the league. Do you say, I want that solid quarterback but at a lesser price and, build the team around him, or do I keep Dak, pay him the money, and keep him from all these other teams? Because there will be a bidding war among all those teams. The Saints, the Patriots would absolutely be in the mix because they haven't locked Cam up long term. I don't know if they will before the end of the season. So there are a lot of places around the league where he could go, but then I think teams really have to make that decision. Do you want to pay a guy like Dak, who is tier 2 quarterback, whatever, he's very good, you can win with him, but is it better to pay a little bit less for, say, a tier 3 quarterback in today's NFL? I think that's going to be fascinating this offseason. But if Dak's a free agent, there's a massive market for his services. There's no doubt.
Steve Palazzolo, NFL insider on the Miller Lite guest line. You just said, all right, so Dak is tier 2 and really good, but he's not in that elite. That's fine. You can win games, have a great career, even win a Super Bowl maybe if things line up. What does an elite head coach / offensive mind do for his game? How much more, like a Sean Payton, Steve, if they were to partner up?
Yeah, so I know you guys don't always love the play calling there right now, but I do think, I've called Dak a tier 3 quarterback in front of you guys before. Maybe I've elevated him a little bit since that point. But I think if you take a look at Dak's career at a macro level, he was excellent as a rookie. 17 and 18, though, he wasn't great. He was okay. He was only ranked 19th, 20th in our PFF grades, which, again, isolates the quarterback from everything around him. And then once Amari Cooper showed up and, he had more playmakers, I think he is getting that bump right now, which is solid. He's just got a solid play caller in Kellen Moore, but it's also a guy that's dictating the action and helping to fuel his, passing production, say. Now, Sean Payton, for instance, could elevate that maybe a little bit more, but I don't think there's a much better situation around the league than what Dallas has right now as far as elevating the quarterback's production. So all that said, I don't know if there's room to grow a ton more statistically for Dak.
But don't you agree?
He's in a good spot.
Don't you agree a little bit is a lot in the NFL?
No, it is. And look, year to year, things can fluctuate, right? A little bit could lead to just, throwing numbers out there. A little bit could lead to one of those 110 passer rating, 35 touchdown, 10 interception type seasons, just to, make a description. But that doesn't necessarily change the quality of Dak as a quarterback, right? It's knowing that on the fringes there, who you're throwing to and who's calling the plays is going to elevate or, maybe bring your stats down just a little bit. But overall, I think since Amari Cooper has showed up, Dak has been on the positive end of that. He's been in a place that is elevating his stats, his play, and his ability to make plays down the field.
ProFootballFocus.com, Steve Palazzolo, NFL Insider on the Out of Bounds show. Blake?
Yes, Steve, I have a question. So everybody's really hung up on, can you pay Dak all this money? But we've seen other quarterbacks who are statistically similar or maybe even worse get paid a bunch of money. Sometimes it hurts their team, sometimes it doesn't. We always talk about the running back contract that hurts your team, so to speak. So why is when you see the reaction to the way Dak is viewed as a leader and I hate going down this road because it's somewhat abstract, but the intangible ability to maybe quote-unquote bring people with you, to inspire people, to make people believe, which therefore makes them play better. I don't know what stock you put into that, but where does that play into the fact of, you're going to have to pay somebody? The money's getting paid around the league regardless, so why not? You might find someone who's tangibly on the field somewhat similar, but what if their locker room presence isn't the same? What if they don't inspire your team, bring you, aren't you losing something by taking someone for a little bit less value if they don't bring the off-the-field aspects that Dak clearly does, given the response to what happened Sunday?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think it matters. I think the off-field stuff absolutely matters. And, there's been very few bad words said about Dak through the years, going back to Mississippi State, right? I mean, he has been that guy who has been a leader and been a winner and all that stuff. So I think there's some stock in that. I would say the inverse of that is a guy like Ryan Tannehill, who is a mid-tier quarterback. That's what he is. But now he's been elevated in Tennessee, and you would never maybe say those things about Tannehill through the years. He didn't win a ton and, isn't necessarily known in the same light as Dak is as a leader, but he did get put into a good situation. They've won, and again, I think that's the stuff that maybe gave Stephen Jones a little bit of hesitancy with the contract with Dak. I don't have inside information on that, but I think they looked at it and just said, man, I just want to see him prove it a little bit more, just a little bit more. And I think they did look around the league and say the Ryan Tannehills of the world. There's a lot of those guys. Do we want to pay Dak top 3 money, or would we rather pay someone else top 15 money? Because, yeah, you can deploy those resources elsewhere. Ultimately, though, paying the quarterback, if he's good, is well worth it. You will get your money back because it is the most important position in football. It does dictate wins and losses more than any other position. So, again, I think they'll get there with Dak, but I think part of their hesitancy was looking at the rest of the league and what some other quarterbacks have been able to do at that mid-tier level.
This is going to be fascinating to see. First and foremost, hopefully he's healthy and comes back, and then kind of what all shakes out. Blake, you got one more?
Yeah, is there any value, especially for a franchise like the Cowboys, who you saw it pre-Romo and then right kind of in that weird Romo injury year, they kind of lucked into a guy like Dak who then they had consistency with, even though he went down a little bit in a couple seasons. For 4 years, you've really had consistent, top 3 wins in the league since he came in. Is there value for the Cowboys to say, we've got McCarthy, we're going to run with this moving forward? There's value in not making a change at the quarterback position, even though, because you're probably not upgrading at a level that you're not getting a Mahomes, Wilson, Rodgers, something like that. You'd be going either equilaterally or down a little bit in who you bring in. So is there value in just saying, hey, even though Dak's not the greatest, there's continuity and there's ability to keep the same group moving forward over a 3 to 4 year period.
Yeah, for sure. There's a ton of value in continuity, and I look at it as just it's a known commodity, right? If you did bring in, say, a Ryan Tannehill caliber player, he's somewhat known too, but you're trying to take the marginal difference between Dak and Tannehill and just hoping that you can fill in the rest and make up that difference. There is value in knowing what you have in Dak. There's value in knowing what you have in him versus, say, if they had a shot at Justin Fields maybe they lose the rest of their games and they have a Justin Fields opportunity. There's still, I would take that shot just because there is that potential that guy could be a top 8 quarterback on a rookie contract. But at the same time, knowing what you get is valuable. And you know what you're going to get from Dak. You're going to get solid, good play that you can win with, that you can produce with, assuming you put the supporting cast around him like I think they have. So, yeah, I think there's definitely value in knowing what you have in a Dak.
Don't miss one moment of the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Weekdays, 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. on ESPN 105.9. The Zone.